Hi everyone, Stefan here. Welcome to the stream. Tonight, I'm not sure what to do actually. I really haven't prepared anything. I spent most of my time recently trying to figure out a way to balance the characters. There's multiple things to take into account, and namely the gender, but also the different alignments, good, evil, and neutral, and also how famous are the characters, obviously, and also what's their main the main thing that defines them. Is it strong enough to make for an interesting character? And how would that synergize with other characters? So there's a lot of things to think about, and it kind of takes a toll on me. I can't quite figure it out. So I guess I could probably limit the number of characters, and that would be kind of a part of a solve. But then doing that, I don't know if this could look a little shallow, so I'm not quite sure. The other option would be to start prototyping anyway, I'll have to do that at some point anyway. A prototype with a few characters, a handful of them, maybe less than 10, and see how everything feels. And at that point, I think I'll get a feel for how many characters are needed. Because if with 10 I already get a lot of different combinations and synergies that are interesting, then maybe I don't really need 150 characters. Maybe 80 would be enough, or 60 or something like this. So I'm not quite sure yet. As to what I'm gonna do, I figured. I'm not too sure, but since we're in Rob Reiner's movie, last time we did Annie Wilkes from Misery. She's done now. The final version, I worked a little bit on her, maybe half an hour, already almost nothing. So she's pretty much exactly what you saw on Friday. The only difference is I moved the pig a little bit so that those legs wouldn't be would be more readable against each other, and I changed the head because head felt like a little big, and there she had too much hair. I didn't feel like it was the proper haircut for the character, so I changed the head a little bit, and that was it. And so I guess we could do I was thinking we could do a Princess Buttercup from The Princess Bride. It's also a Rob Reiner movie, interestingly, and but very different. Like, it's pretty much the 180 opposite from Misery. It's a storybook story, very charming, very light movie. Lots of humor. It's a good, it's a kind of a feel-good movie. It's almost like the kind of movie that you want to watch for Christmas or something like this. And this is, I did a version of her, Princess Buttercup. She was, what was the name of the actress? I can't remember. What was her name? Robin Wright. That's it, Robin Wright. She's also very different nowadays, playing in the House of Cards. She's Underwood. No, I can't remember her first name. Carrie Underwood? I don't know. But anyway, she's kind of a cold, very scary character. But she started as Princess Buttercup, very light, very innocent character. She was much younger, obviously, at the time, 1987. And so I guess I could do that. I don't know what... there's two main outfits. Let me grab her real quick. Where is she? The princess. There. Let's grab her. We're gonna do small characters. Yeah, so let's do this. So this is the small sprite. So there's two versions of her mainly. We can look for a reference. The red dress is what she wears for the main part of the movie when she's not a princess, so to speak, at the moment, because she's not been married to the evil prince at that point. So that's the main outfit. Very early, she has the sort of peasant outfit, like this. I can't really find a good picture of that, but I would say this is probably what people recall the most as the character. Not the most elegant outfit, by the way, kind of a meh. Not a big fan, but that's the character. So, and you see, it's interesting because if you type in Princess Buttercup, what comes out is cosplay, and most of it, one cosplay, 2, 3, and then that's another cosplay, that's another one, and they're all the red dress, which means that really that is what people consider a Princess Buttercup, because otherwise you'd see a lot of cosplay as her in the princess, and I guess this is really not her character, and she's desperate at that moment because she has to marry with the evil prince played by Chris Sarandon. So that's really not her true personality. She has a blue dress too as well, and this one is kind of nice, and so that's why I did those two versions back then. But small characters are very easy, very quick to do, so I figured that I'd do both. But as a bigger sprites, I'm gonna just do one, and so we're gonna do the red dress for sure. So it's kind of a baggy, weird sort of gown. Not the best, really not the best, but we'll see if we can make this just a bit more interesting. I hate to look at cosplay because cosplay usually they have things that are a little bit wrong. That's another one. Cosplay. It's all cosplay everywhere. That's true, but I don't see the bottom. Got that. See view more. That's a funny picture. She's there. She looks so different there. I mean, that's not a bad one. I guess I could steal this. I mean, the bottom is probably as kind of lame as the top, to be fair. It's probably just a big gown and nothing special at the it's probably long as dragging on the floor, I would imagine. Let me see if I can find another one. I would like to see. Certainly not that short. That's not right. Where is she? Let's do Princess Buttercup, Robin Wright. Maybe we'll get more lucky this way. Kind of weed out the cosplay. That's her as Underwood. Oh, she was in that's crazy. She was in Wonder Woman as well, one of the Amazons. Oh, there you go. So that's interesting. So yeah, very long, and she's got red boots as well. So it's basically a big giant red. Bleh. So I don't think we need much more reference for that. Pretty. It's gonna be pretty straightforward, I guess. Yeah. That's from the Battle of Wits, right before the Battle of Wits. That's such a great scene. It's funny because here, she's got the. Well, hold on. Here she has the belt there, this sort of shiny belt, golden belt. There. But let me see. Where's the Battle of Wits thing? Maybe we don't see it. Oh, there. Yeah, so very long. I mean, there's really nothing there. Okay. Well, that's it then. That's no need to look further. We're just gonna do that. I guess I'll start with the I don't know. Should I? It's so simple. I wonder if I even need to start from the old. Could probably just for scale take one of the other women and just turn her into Princess Buttercup. Could take. In a weird way, I could take Ratchet. Because when you think of it, she's kind of a very simple position, pose. Nothing's too special, and faces are all the same anyway. So I just have to change the hair. Scale is right. Yeah, I mean, or no, I guess we'll just take. We'll just go with Nurse Ratchet. It's interesting that the closest that I can find to more easier to start Princess Buttercup is Mildred Ratchet. Kind of interesting. So I guess we'll go right into it, and no need to waste too much time. Yeah, this film, Princess Bride, it's interesting because I saw it very late, actually. It's one of those films that I've heard about for a long time, and but I never. I'll show you something before. Yeah, I never saw it up until I was a adult. You know, I was 30 something. It's one of those films that I've always heard about. I should have seen it as a kid, but always missed it. And there was another one like this, which was Labyrinth with Jennifer Connelly and David Bowie. But this one also saw very late. And usually when you see those movies, there are very that have a lot of nostalgia attached to them. When you see them nowadays, if you haven't seen them as a kid, they're pretty bad. That's what happens most of the time. And in fact, I think that was the case for Labyrinth. I thought it was a little crap, but people really love that film. But Princess Bride was the opposite. I saw it as an adult, and I thought it was really amazing. Very well written, very clever, very funny, quite touching, very well done. That's really Rob Reiner's skill there. So I'll show you a quick trick, something that you could do when you have a very light character like this, white essentially, and you want to, let's say you want to change her into red. What you can do is create another layer, So we'll have another layer on top of Mildred right there. And we'll fill this layer, so we'll select her entirely, minus maybe head. We won't get any of this, any of that. Doesn't matter to me. It's just it'll be just a starting point, really. It's just to show you the kind of trick you can do. Oh, take this. So that's selected, and then what we can do is so fill all of this in with red. Take a nice clean red there, and this you put in multiply mode, so it's going to multiply the value, the color of this, the red, with everything underneath, and so white will essentially become pure white, will become that color, will become white, and then let's say we'll do, oh sorry, there, multiply. So doing this, you retain some of the shading in there, but essentially becomes all red. And the darker you go, darker the red, but no matter what color you use, it will still preserve everything. That's a quick, cheap way to start with red, you know. So we'll do that. I want to retain, see a bit more of the shading, so maybe I'll go a little lighter, something like I just need to inject a bit of color in there, so maybe about there. Can get rid of that because this is skin. And then if I gonna keep this as a mask for now, then I can collapse. Now I have all the character in one layer. I can use this mask to select again the red, and then here at that point I can play with the here it's because I think the opacity was different, but we can fix this. So I can do that, you know, and then find a good and then I retain a little more of the shading there. That's one way of starting the red, you know, getting a bit of a basic red color. Oops. I'll go a little darker. Something like this. Okay, so now we can just can fix the few mistakes and then start playing with it. So we probably won't see I had our bare feet there just to have a little bit of something, but I guess technically it's not accurate. And also the actual dress is very it's very wide, very baggy. The sleeves are very extremely large, so that might be an issue to make this look good. Maybe I have to kind of get the arms a little further away from the body, because otherwise everything will get all meshed into one big messy thing. So I guess we'll improvise and try to find a good a pose that takes advantage of this. So up to the, like, down to the ground. Reason why I'm not doing I'm not having all the pixels touching the ground is because if we want to keep the same idea of having a little bit of perspective in the ground, like there, this means that would be the same for her. One of her foot would be a little further away, one would be, and so we have to suggest this. So get a bit of a rounded shape, a bit of perspective in the bottom. So there. Quick save, just in case Photoshop would decide to crash on us. Generally pretty stable, but you never know with Photoshop. I mean, generally you never know with any software, but Photoshop is a... I guess also I'm using this fairly old version of Photoshop in the latest with the latest OS and on Mac, and they don't like each other too much, so I get more crashes nowadays. We get another window real quick. So it's gonna be long blonde hair. Can I get the same hair as him? It's very tricky. They're very light hair, always very hard to do. This turned out okay for Flash Gordon. Use a real blonde, and I think just to be about the same. And compare with that color that I used in the small one. Oh wow, that's crazy. So close. That's pretty amazing. This was the blonde that I used back then, and this is what I took for that recent Flash Gordon. So I guess that's probably the best choice right there. So let's do a bit of blonde. We'll have to have some kind of shading though, because otherwise it'll look really bad. And we'll probably have some hair going in the front, because otherwise we won't be able to show the length of them, and it's really the length of the hair that makes her it's very iconic for her. So we'll just do that. It's funny. It's like anime, you know. In a Japanese anime, all the characters are have essentially the same face, but just by changing hair, you get the impression that it's a different character. I don't know if I should do this. It's either a bit less there, maybe less big but long. Let's try that. or we do this and then a little more there, but I think less is probably better. I think I need a bit of anti-aliasing there. Could also go a little lighter on the outside, because it looks a bit too much. I mean, that transition is weird there. Or I do this. Not too convinced this is the right. Let's see this. No, too much. Yeah, I guess we could do that. So that's that. Now, because we have to show that that belt, and so we want her less wide in the arms. And now I should try and get the arms because this is what's gonna really define the pose. Let me think for a minute. It's better sometimes to just think a little bit rather than rush into something without a real plan. Can't think of a very good pose. Maybe. Should I have? Because if I have the arms kind of spread out like a little bit, like, you know, in a sort of a welcoming way, it'll be she'll look like Jesus, you know. It's gonna be a bit too it's gonna be a bit weird, I think, as a pose. Frankly, hands join is probably the best for her kind of personality at that point. But that means it's too close to Ratchet, because so I could maybe. I mean, does it matter that much? Not really, to be fair, because no one will think about that. Screen this up a little bit first. I think I could have the arms a little more extended, at least, the very least, instead of because here she's holding something, so arms are a little bit more bent, but I think we can have longer, more extended arms for. And that's changing the pose essentially, because this is a bit more it's a bit more regal for a princess. Don't want to bend the arms too much. And then here I should be able. I need to find a way to show those horrible sleeves. I really don't like them. What were they thinking, really? Oh, imagine her face when she had to go into a costume tryout. Oof, man, it's kind of a thing where you regret to be an actor, I guess. And he gets to wear the super awesome black, you know, fencing outfit with the cool sword, and she gets the horrible baggy dress, red on top of that. It's like really bad. He was really awesome in Princess Bride when he had the mask on and everything, and the sort of Zoe mask. Yeah, he's so cool. He's such a great character, and also if you really have to audition to watch this movie because it's a very fun. It's a very fun watch, and there are a few scenes in there that are pretty legendary now. For instance, the infamous duel with Mandy Patinkin there. They have a duel between the two of them, and it's both a duel of it's a very it's a duel of a skill, of a fencing skill, but also a duel of wits, and it's very it's full of a sort of a gentleman agreement and sportsmanship. It's very noble. It's a really nice scene. I really love it. Andre the Giant was in it. Look at the size of his head. It's pretty just amazing. He was a very famous, at the time, very famous wrestler. He was in the WWE at the time, and he's French actually. He was born in France and moved to the United States, and hoped to get a career over there, and quickly got noticed by the WWE. But he died at a fairly young age because of the gigantism, or I think that's what's called. It's at this point, it's really a sickness to be that big, and it took a toll on his whole body. Basically, heart is not strong enough to pump blood. Even if it has a bigger heart, it's not strong enough to pump blood efficiency through an entire body like this. Bones, as strong as they are, they're not meant to support that much weight. So yeah, it sort of killed him slowly. That's the famous duel I was talking about. Yeah, so very cool. But anyway, back to her. Like I said, she got the short stick in that thing. And of course, when she gets finally a nice dress, it's because because she gets to be married with a horrible character. So this should be pretty straightforward, I imagine. Didn't feel like doing something too hard tonight. To be fair, I was a bit lazy going into the stream, so I thought I'm gonna do another Rob Reiner character, and this one should be fairly easy. So let's see what we can do with the sleeves. It's okay, we have a foundation that's good enough at this point. So we probably want to quickly check on size. Have her next to other ladies, see how she feels. That's pretty good. I think that's acceptable. I think Robin Wright is actually quite tall, if I remember, as an actress. So I could have her a bit taller. Not like Jessica, because this I made her especially tall because she's not a real. She's a cartoon character, so it was fun to make her a little bit out of scale. I guess so. Yeah, I guess she deserves a couple more pixels, I think. Yeah, I think I'm gonna add a couple more pixels. So let's get her over there. We can add maybe one in legs. The bust is already pretty long as it is. Let's see, I want to see a waistline compared to her, for instance. Yeah, see, the legs are actually quite long there. Waist, add to her. Shoulders are similar. Waist is about there, which means that probably need one more pixel in there somewhere. Who else do we have? Well, I could compare to, I guess, Ratchet. Waist about here. Yeah, so I think we probably need to do this. Arms just and then probably hips just a little higher, even though we don't see much hips there because of the gown, but this is a suggestion of hips. So now that's a bit better in terms of scale, I think. Sometimes it's better to look at smaller size actually. It's about right. Oops. I think that's okay. So we'll keep this. Keep a small window there just to check. Okay. So we can do with that. Rid of that. Need to feel that color maybe a little more. Try to mark a little bit more where the arm connects. And then what else? I'm gonna try to get this this bell there. It's unfortunate it's gonna come very close to, but I guess see her arm should be pretty much longer than that, because imagine she crosses her arm against her body. Fully extended, they will be closer to a crotch area, you know, than waist. So it's actually good for me. So we'll do this. Try to get a nice read on the belt. Yeah, and it's a nicer, more elegant pose with the longer arms. Really extended. Let's try to get even more. Oops. Let's see. I don't think that's outrageously long. I mean, look at the size of her arms there. If we put, say, a waistline around there, hips would be somewhere in there. Oh well, the bust is shorter there, but then arms are still very long. Same thing here. Waist, hips, very close. So arm fully extended, that seems about right, I think. Gonna see if I can go one more. But I think oops, might be a bit too much. 1 pixel is gonna be that 1 pixel too much, I think. Yeah, I think so. Try to have hands. Like this, sort of crossed. I need to bring back this color somewhere. So that belt, I think around here probably. So belt we can go with this for now. We'll try to make a nice shiny feel to it. For now it's just placement. Yeah, right there. Yeah, I think it's right. Okay. Of course, she has those two so I'll try to get them at least one to show. Don't know if I can get both. I guess I could maybe have one bit less. Not too sure, I'm just experimenting at the moment. I have one longer than the other. I mean, technically they wouldn't be that long because they're about this size, as long as the arms, so they should probably stop quite short. But here it's a case where I'm going to take a bit of license with the with everything, because if I don't have this, I don't have much, you know. Maybe. Okay, we'll do that for now. I think I'm gonna have to paint this a little darker, just because there's probably a little less light in that area, and I want to be able to render a bit this sort of thing, sort of fold there. Again, not the most elegant thing in the world, but what can you do? Do that. I could go a little higher. For the color there. His neck seems a bit long. Just a touch of anti-aliasing there. can give it just a bit more. So those are the. This is the. This is where it's going to be very offensive for those sleeves. I don't even know if I want to go there, but we'll give it a shot. We'll give it a quick shot. It's quite the horror. Try to. Oh, actually, she's got. Yeah, and top of that, they're not even covering the hands, because at least if she had the long sleeves but kind of overlapping the hand, that could be at least a little better. But now she has like those tight sleeves and then this sort of part that is attached to it, but even higher. Oh, that's such a weird design. I think you can tell that they were going for something original, you know, like different. Unfortunately, I don't think different means always better. So I think generally that's a thing in everything creative. I think a lot of people, they think that you know, you have to make something different in order to be good. And I think there's a misconception between good and different. And I agree that if you can make something that is both interesting and unique and different than anything anyone has done before, that's you're in a really good position. But I guess if you have to choose between different and better, or you know, or interesting, I would go for interesting rather than different. Sometimes you don't want to reinvent the wheel, you know. Things work for a reason, and just trying to change for changing, I don't think it's necessarily always a good idea. Thinking of a card that I have, it's so there's this thing that they've done where basically any other car has the parking brake. There's a, you know, a button for parking brake, or a pedal, or some way of to put the car in parking brake, right? Well, mine doesn't have any of this. In order for the car to go into parking brake, you have to turn off the engine while pressing on the brake pedal. And there's no other way to put the parking brake on. And once you know it, that's fine. But most people don't know that. Especially valet guys, they don't even know that. Even though they must see a lot of those cars, but they still don't know. So what happens is every single time they do what people normally do. They lift their foot, you know, off the gas pedal and off the brake, turn the engine off and look for the parking brake. But they can't find it because there's no button. And so, and at that point the car is in neutral, so it could roll off. So it's actually very dangerous. So I always check on Valet and see if they got it right. And no one can figure it out. So I guess they wanted to do something different that was faster. Technically it's faster. You know, let your keep your foot on the brake, turn the engine off, and that's it. You've saved one operation, which is then putting the parking brake on. So technically you think that this is better and it's different and it's better, but in fact it's not, because no one is used to this. And so what happens is that really you end up with something that is different but clearly inferior and potentially dangerous even. So I mean, apart from that, it's a good car, but it's kind of an example of different versus efficient. I think art or creation is really not that much different. People who, you know, sometimes they make music and they go for those really weird harmonics and stuff, very experimental, and it feels different, but it's also very disturbing to hear and not necessarily very pleasing. And if that's what they were going for, then you know, good. But other than that, it's pretty. It's kind of a failure, you know. Those sleeves are so bad. I can't believe they did this. So what I could do is change them and make them, see, this is what I was thinking about, just a simpler sort of long sleeve that ends up very wide, you know, something like this. You know, at the very minimum. But that's not really what it is it? It's more like there's a separation between the actual large sleeve and there's an almost like another sleeve underneath. That's the weirdest idea ever. Different for sure. Kind of ugly though, at least in my opinion. I'd be curious to see actually, hold on. Did the people who because cosplayer usually they try to make things right, you know, and very accurate because they're fans, so they try to make it as accurate as possible. I'm curious to see if many of them got it right. So this is kind of wrong because it's not wide enough. Yes, this one's close. Sorry, okay, fine. This one's close, and you get that. This is okay. Yeah, they try to really make it. Look at this. I mean, who wants to wear something? I think I feel like I'm gonna bitch about this sleeve for the rest of the night. But I mean, look at this. Like, who wants to wear that? Really? On top of that, ugh, I don't know. What the hell? This is the worst. But I'm kind of stuck, you know. I have to somewhat see. This is more what I was thinking. This at least it's a bit more. You know, it's just a bit more elegant for a woman. But this is, or even that is okay, you know. But this stuff. Oh, on top of that, she has the dark gloves. Oh no, we're not gonna do this. Yeah, maybe it's a common. Maybe it's, you know. Oh, there. This is what I was thinking. This is better. I can live with that. There's some form to it, you know. Gravity works compared to that. Look at this thing. So okay, whatever. I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna stop complaining and try to find a way to make it work in our case. So basically, need to make sure that there's a clear sort of a clear separation between the actual sleeve there and this secondary big thing. No idea how I'm gonna represent this, obviously, but we'll try to find a way. So on top it's red on red on top of that, so it makes it even more complicated. Because see, if I could do this, let's say there's no red underneath, then this becomes way easier, because you know, I can really define the sleeve, and then the spot that's not attached to it, because I have underneath, I have this, you know, I have a different color, so I can really make them stand out from each other. But now if I have red, then it becomes a whole big mess, and I can't really emphasize that shape. So I have to find a sort of a clever way to do that. I'm gonna send a letter to that the person who made the costume, asking them, why did you do that? I'm thinking maybe, I mean, I'm not educated enough to know about medieval costumes, but it's possible that it was actually a very common sort of a shape in the during medieval times. You know, it's possible. That would explain why they did this. Trying to find a way to make this read. I'm struggling a little bit there. Now this is the issue there. Once I fill this up, well, I guess it's probably alright now. What I can do is use a even darker, just a little outline. Let's say, oh, could do that. Separate this a bit more. And I need to have some kind of contrast anyway. Otherwise it'll be a bit too boring, so. Let's flip this, see if we understand what it is. I guess that's about the best I'm gonna get. Even wider. I think it's enough, probably. Probably enough. It's kind of feel a bit lazy, so I'm just gonna flip this. See if I can use this as a starting point, and then you never really want to go symmetrical. But this will at least ensure that they're close. Okay. A little more straight there. I almost feel like at that point I need one more pixel in the, oops, in there. Poor Princess Buttercup with her ugly red dress. Yeah, so yeah, quickly, this is kind of weird, but weird search, but does anyone know? Oh no, 5'6", is actually tiny. Crazy. I mean, normal size, I guess. For some reason, I was imagining her very tall, but huh? Yeah, okay, 5'6" then. That surprises me. Yeah, she's not that tall. Okay, so never mind. But I mean, again, you know, I don't really, I think sometimes, like, I don't really necessarily want to follow actual size, because then then in that case, Ripley should be taller than most men. Um, should be way taller than him, because when you think of Al Pacino, he's what? He's a tiny. How tall he is? He's probably a what? 5'7", 5'8", 5'7". There you go. And look at what's her name? Sigourney Weaver. Yeah, there. 6. You know, so she's she technically should be it'd be this, you know, which would be super odd. So I can't really do that. So I guess I'll just do what feels right for the character. And for some reason it feels right to have Princess Buttercup a bit tall, elegant, and long, you know, and lean. To me, at least. So I think we'll do that, you know. As long as it feels right, I don't think it's a big deal. It's good size. Still smaller than most guys. Yeah, so I think it's alright. We'll keep this. Okay. Now we know where the belt can start effectively. It's pretty quiet tonight. Not that many people. I think I should go probably for just 1 pixel, really. Unless I use a darker color for the edge there. But that's not really it's not really right. So I think two seems too much. We'll go 1. I'll go 1 pixel. And again, I mean, shouldn't be that long, as you can tell, but let's have it over there first. Try and connect it to so hold on. Okay, go a bit darker here. Get this puffy thing. Go in between. Now we can tell it's it feels too long because we see that part. Yeah, we can't have the belt too close to the hands because they mix too much in color. So and then it looks like yeah. So hold on. Gonna do this. No, maybe. Oh. Maybe that. As long as we can tell hands from the belt, we're fine. Okay, hold on. There is one thing. It's a bit pale. But then she is at the same time, so she's a very fair skin. Let me get replay real quick. Just get more color on her face, but I'm gonna probably mix them a bit. Oh. See if we can get just a bit more color in her face. We got that. I think it might be better because at least the face reads a little better within the hair, and the hair looks even lighter this way by comparison. So I think it's not necessarily a bad idea. And I think we can mix them a bit, somewhere in between, from here to there, and then maybe push some saturation, have her nice and you know, more bit more color in her face, makes her more look more earthy for a young princess, you know. From here, she's a bit gray there. You see, she like this is a bit of sun saturated the lips a little bit too much, but we can take care of that. And the eyes too, but we'll take care of that. Let's say we do that. Bring back the eyes. And lips, we'll take care of that. So from here to there, that seems much better. Huh? Nice clean color. I think this might be just a bit too saturated though. This orange there. I like to saturate skin in shadow, but I think this may be overdoing just a little bit. So we'll go somewhere in there. Like this. Okay. Put a bit more color in here. Okay. The reason why I was doing this is, oh, I'm the wrong, yeah, that's fine. There's no worries. Take this. And then this layer, I'm gonna bring it back down there. Right above her. Collapse, that's it. Just checking I didn't mess up her face. Sometimes I copy or I move around stuff and then I cut it from the other sprite and realize that later. So there, Princess Buttercup. So on her way. Let's see now. Take care of that eventually. I think it's probably, oh yeah, the reason I was doing this in fact is because I wanted a bit more vibrant colors for the hands. I just want to make sure that the hands would read. But at the same time, I don't want the hands to be too dark. They really need to be tiny, considering size of the face and everything. I tended to do hands always too big in the past. I was trying to define fingers and really to try and paint hands, and it took me a while to realize that in most cases, even bigger hands for men, what you want is really to define just a basic shape and and a basic sense of lighting on them. And usually end up in a way, like, let's see, this is a good example. Top of the hand, bottom of the hand, nice clean read, and no fingers, nothing, but at least you get a read on the lighting, and that gives you a good hand. Here, suggestion of a thumb there, yeah, and then rest of the fingers. So if you can find something every time that sort of feels thumb, open hand, you want just the thumb separate from the rest of the fingers, and you collapse all the other fingers in one. Same thing here, the knuckles and the top of the hand, different shading. So it's a very very efficient, and it leaves most of the hands to the imagination. You let the viewer kind of fill in the blanks, but that's enough. See, this probably need a bit of lighting in here that I didn't do. Job in place. Thank you very much for the follow. Thank you and welcome. Thank you, job in place. Here we're doing. I hope I pronounced your name well. If I made a mistake, just let me know in the chat. How do you want me to call you? So that's the big. It's funny. It's the big problem that I've found streaming. One of the major problems is to be able to read the chats. Okay, cool. Thanks for being right and liking my IG post. Oh yeah, what did you do? Can you tell me which one is it? Is it the little city, the little blue city that it's very small? Jobin. Okay, I can call you Jobin. Is that the one with the small city? I wonder which one was it? Because a little robot. Was it on Instagram? Oh right, okay, yeah. I always like seeing other people doing other things and in different styles, and see how they approach the different things. It's always cool. Yeah, you did good there. I should probably follow you. Actually, I don't think I've followed. Did I follow you? I don't think I did. I'll have a look later on after the stream. See what else you've done. Yes, I was saying Kurt Russell. Yeah, so it's funny. You mean the Snake Plissken one, right? Probably. This Kurt Russell. It's an interesting case because I made it very fast. Usually, it really depends. I don't know if you've seen all the characters actually at their size there. I think I've posted most of them on Instagram, but you can actually see them a little better there. But usually for a character like this, a life-size snake. Wow, really? Huh. Crazy. I would never be able to paint in front of people like this, especially life-size. I would be mortified. But yeah, usually for a character like this, it takes me between an hour and a half to 6 hours for when I really struggle and I can't really make it work. For instance, the Predator took me close to 6 hours, which is crazy. I mean, it seems such a long time, and I totally, even me saying this, I'm like, how can that take 6 hours? But the truth is that I struggle a lot, and it's just the nature of it. I wish I could be super fast and get it right every single time, but a big trouble car as well. Yeah, exactly. And it's such a fight sometimes to get the right shape. That, like, for instance, the helmet there, and that in that perspective, it was really challenging to get the dreads to read. I mean, there was just so many issues, and so really, yeah, it's a fight to get the priorities right. But to go back to this guy, I think it was one of the fastest I've ever, maybe close to an hour and a half. I remember very very fast. I got it very quickly. Didn't it seemed completely effortless, and it's a funny thing because then I posted it on Instagram, and it ended up getting a lot more likes than any other characters, which I think shows you that when something is right, you get it right for the first time. There's a certain quality to it that people can feel when everything, sort of all the planets are aligned and you don't struggle. It means that you're in the right mindset, and where everything flows and naturally. And I think people can sort of feel it at that point. So yeah, that was interesting. And other characters that I had a hard time doing when I post them, they're not that popular, and I think it's because people think they can't really point their finger at it, but they feel that it's not quite right, you know. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, and like you said, it's there's so many things that you have to make work at the same time. It's one of the rare, I guess it's one of the rare sort of a visual a medium where shading and in a drawing is sort of all combined in one thing. And sometimes you have to show shading and sort of emphasize shading. Sometimes you have to emphasize design. Sometimes a little bit of both. But within the same sprite, you can sometimes really sort of a jump back and forth between different areas, between showing the design and showing the shading. It's interesting. But yeah, I really like to do that. It's good fun. Sometimes I guess there's a love and hate relationship with pixel art, like many other things that I do. Sometimes I really like doing it, and sometimes it frustrates me to no end. I can't when I can't get it right. You know, I'm getting obsessed, and I don't understand why I can't get things right all the time. But I guess that goes for many other things. That every time you try to create something, there's always a chance you're gonna end up in that situation. I'm tempted to have her a bit more tape there. You know, kind of the nice triangle. She might be just a little nicer. But this is kind of closer to what she is. You know, it's a very wide, wide gown. There's a really doesn't really show us waist or anything. So, yeah, I think I ought to keep it a little bit wider. Oh, the game. So the game is a weird one. So quickly. So I'll try to make it short, but I have a hard time explaining every time. So basically, imagine. So the idea is to. Okay, I'm a big fan of games that are like some board games that are that have to do with managing bad situations and trying to make the best of the best of one bad situation in a sort of and also combining the different sort of skills of different characters into one good team. There's a game, a board game called Robinson Crusoe that I've played that I really love, which is really what the title suggests. You're on a desert island. and you have to survive a certain number of days and accomplish a certain goal by a certain number of days. And you have, I think, you can have up to 4 people playing it. It's all co-op, and so you have, let's say, a cook, a soldier, a hunter, and a carpenter, let's say, and each one of them has basically a very is better at one thing. The carpenter is a builder, the cook obviously makes the food, the hunter is good with animals, tracking, gathering, and the soldier is the fighting guy. And so but this game is extremely punishing, very hard, because you always struggle. The game keeps throwing at you issues, problems like bad weather. Then once you get you think you get clear of the bad weather, then the camp is attacked by a bear, and then after that one of the characters gets injured trying to build something, and it's that constant issues that arise, and you're always kind of like at the verge of losing it all, or maybe surviving. It's a really tense, very tense game, actually. I've played with my wife, and she gets always frustrated because when we lose, because she thinks it's too hard, and it's true that it's very, very difficult. And also you have to be a bit lucky to win sometimes. But anyway, so there was this on one side, and on the other side there's the idea of I've played a lot of Binding of Isaac, which has you would think nothing to do with each other, but the Binding of Isaac, the genius of it is, it's really a Zelda dungeon. Most of it is a straight up copy from a Zelda dungeon, which is fine. But the genius of Edmund Macmillan is that he added on top of that the whole build system, where your character keeps changing depending what items you get, and all those items, they really make crazy different synergies. Creepy game, also Binding as well, strategy as well. Yeah, so really the game that I'm thinking of doing, and I'm a big fan of like movies and iconic characters from movies. So I was thinking, okay, what if I make a game that is like a video game that is essentially a sort of a survival, strategy game, where you start with one character that you can choose, or that is assigned randomly, one character from one movie. It could be Tony Montana, I say, just as an example. And then you have one character, you try to survive those aliens that have invaded Earth, those guys. And then turn by turn, the game would be divided in night and days. And then at day, you have to find resources, try to meet people, recruit people, find vehicles if you can, resolve all the issues. And at night, you rest, prepare food, try to find a shelter, and all that sort of stuff. And so the idea is to try and see if I could make something where you have all sorts of really crazy synergies that can happen with very different people that seem to have nothing to do with each other, and yet would be fun. And really started with this idea that was almost a dream, I think, that I had, where I saw Dorothy and Alien and some kind of other characters being friends and chatting with each other. It was a very weird idea, and I thought that could be fun actually to see. It's not serious at all. Make a parody of movie characters that just got along, and even though they have nothing to do with each other. So it's kind of like the idea. So imagine that you play something like The Darkest Dungeon, but with a little bit more surviving and resource managing, and less fighting, and you combine this with this sort of movie sort of a nostalgia, where all the characters that you can actually interact with and potentially join your team, or very famous movie characters. And the other idea is to that yeah, I've done so far I've done about 40 of them, I think. But let me show you something funny. I did this before. I did a bunch of them. I was thinking of making them very small at the beginning. I wanted to see how small I could get before I could a thing would be unrecognizable. And it's actually surprising how small you can get. before things. And I bet you could go even smaller than that. But then I thought that it was a bit too close for comfort to what they did with Sword and Sorcery, you know, the Super Brother guys. Even though it's really not that close, but to me, I don't know, I felt like a bit disturbed by that. So I figured I'm gonna make them, and some characters, they didn't look good at that size. So I figured I'm gonna try to make at least a couple bigger size and ask what people think. So that's and so I ended up remaking most of them at this size, and I think I'll end up probably using both sides for different purposes in the game. In terms of the licensing, so I'm not a lawyer, okay? So I don't. What I'm saying is really what I'm about to say is really just my interpretation of things based on what I've read everywhere, and I've done quite a bit of research to try and figure it out. I haven't asked a copyright attorney about this really, but here's what my conclusion. In the US at least, and it varies depending on the different countries of the world, so that's another added issue. But at least let's say in the US, you're not allowed to use any other intellectual property, character, anything that belongs to another company and make money with it, or without their permission, without the licensing, essentially, except for parody. And the parody is actually protected under the Constitution, or at least the legal system in the United States. The parody is something that is defined very, very clearly by law, and is protected from copyright. So why is that? Is because basically parody started with a lot of cartoonists doing political figures, representing characters, making fun of Mickey, making fun of this and that, and then they got challenged by there are several instances where companies went after cartoonists for making fun of them. They were not too worried that they were using their image or their characters, as much as they were worried about the fact that they were mocking them. So they tried to went after them legally to try and send them cease and desist letter and trying to prevent them from going on. But what happened is that thanks to a few courageous artists that wouldn't want to back out, and they fought that in court, and the result was that the court eventually decided that you cannot prevent someone from making fun of you or parodying you as it is without because it's a part of a freedom of expression, and freedom of expression is the First Amendment in the Constitution. So it was really a case of freedom of expression versus copyright laws and property infringement. And the courts have settled this issue, and now in law, it's copyright infringement unless you're parodying. And so and that's why you see you'll see cartoons and stuff like that in newspapers or anywhere that are sold and that make fun of characters and make them look ridiculous, and they're allowed to do so because they're parodying. And so in my case, what happens is that one of the main definitions of parody, it's a strange one. It's not necessarily that you have to mock people, but the parody, at least what I understand from the legal definition, is that thanks for the follow, Jobin, again. Oh, you're sting me. Okay, thanks for this for the host, the little host. I like that. Yeah. So the main legal legal definition of parody is that you have to make sure that the audience cannot possibly think that the character that you're representing is the actual real character from the company that put it out. For instance, if I make tomorrow, if I make a video game with Mickey in it, right? And Mickey looks like exactly like Mickey in any other video games. Meets a bunch of Disney characters that are like that he meets regularly. Is a clean, nice platforming game. I use the name Mickey and I do all of this. This could be mistaken for a genuine product that has been put out by Disney. In that case, this is copyright infringement. Now, if I make the same game, again, and I change the name Mickey for Ricky, and I make a big mouse with like long teeth that definitely is Mickey. You can tell that it's been inspired by Mickey. There's no doubt about it. But I change it enough so that people understand that it's not Mickey. It's not made by Walt Disney. Then it becomes parody, and it's protected by law. So here's the gist of it mainly. So not that being said, here's the problem. Let's say I'm Warner Brothers or 20th Century Fox. Let's say I'm Paramount. Okay, Paramount made Indiana Jones, and I make this game. And in my case, if you see Indiana Jones hanging out with Leatherface and Alien in Jessica Rabbit, there is no way that people, and then they fight aliens, there is no way that people are going to think, plus at that, like little pixel characters like this and no names are given, there is no way that people are going to think, oh, the Paramount did this, they make a game about Indiana Jones. But what about all those other characters? What about the fact that he fights alien and it's all goofy? There's no way that people are going to think. So it should be okay. But here's what happens sometimes. Let's say Paramount, they don't see that very well. They're not happy about it. And for some reason, some kind of producer or lawyer over there sees that thing and decides that they don't like it. Yeah, well done, Herbert West. They don't like this very much, and they for some reason the thing escalates up to a producer, an exec producer, someone in the studio, and they're like, we don't like this, we don't want Indiana Jones in that game, take care of it. Then the attorney will be like, well, actually this guy is protected by parody, so we can't really go after them. And let's say the studio guy is like, I don't care, you do it the way you want to make this guy stop. Then the attorney will do, most likely, is that they'll send me a cease and desist letter. They'll go with bluff. They'll bluff it out. They'll say, okay, we've noticed that you use Indiana Jones in your game. You're not allowed to do this. This is an intellectual property that is protected by copyright law. Hence, you have 48 hours to remove all instances of Indiana Jones or reference to Indiana Jones in your game, or we are going to go to court, and we'll make your game, we'll take out your game from the shelves or from downloading sites or whatever. So then I have two options. Sarah Connor from Terminator 2. I have two options. One, I call out their bluff, and I say, yeah, you know what? This is parody. I'm protected by a parody, and and go screw yourself. I'll keep it and do whatever you want. And option B, I say, I cave out and I say, okay, fine, I don't want any problem. I'll remove this guy. I'll get rid of this guy. Okay, and then they let me alone. So you'd think, well, go for option A, right? Because there's a good chance, there's a significant chance that you're gonna win. But here's the issue. Let's say they don't bluff. Let's say they go to court. Then they have an army of attorneys that they pay a fortune. Me, to defend myself against them, I have to pay an attorney, beforehand. And then they ask to go to court. It will cost thousands and thousands of dollars. They'll make it last as long as they can, years if they want. In the meantime, as long as a product like a game is litigated, that means that it's in court for some reason or another, the judge will most likely say that the game cannot be sold during that time until it's resolved. So they basically, by default, prevent the game from coming out or from selling for a certain amount of months or years, while I have to pay for an attorney and basically get completely, washed out. And they don't care. So, and at the very end, let's say in 2 years' time, the court finally says, okay, Stefan is right. He's allowed to do this. Then I'll get my money back, most likely, because they have to pay for my lawyer fees. And then I can finally sell my game. But I've lost several months, several years, most likely. And there's a good chance that I'm going to come out, run out of money even before the judge comes back with a verdict. Which means that it doesn't matter if I win or lose in the end, I'm going to always lose. And that's what they do. That's what they do when they don't want you to do something. But here's the other thing. Nowadays, most of the time, at least from what I understand, it looks like the big companies, they don't go after small things like this. Because it costs them a lot of money to go after. They still have to pay for attorneys and stuff, so it costs them quite a bit of money to go after a guy like me, and they know that they're not going to get anything back because I'm no one, so they can't even hope to recover their lawyer fees, and they don't buy anything in exchange. You don't get anything. And also what can happen is that then I can go to Kotaku and say, look, me, small developer, being harassed by big studio and so sad, and all I want is to make an homage to those characters and look at what they do to me. Then it becomes a big media thing, and it gives them a really bad image of the big corporation going after the small guy, and most likely they don't like that either, because that can really tarnish their image. So most of the time what they decide is to just let it go, because they know I'm not going to make $1 million with that anyway. They don't care about if I'm going to make, let's say if I'm going to make 20 grand with this game, they don't even, it's nothing for them. It's not paying a 1 day at the cafeteria. They don't even, it doesn't even register on their bank account. And so they know I'm not going to make money. And worst case, I mean, honestly, it's free publicity for them. They look at that and like, well, in the game, it's still a bit of a bit of awareness for the character, and it's fun. It's not offensive. If you're making something offensive, they might go after you because they're offended. But if you do something like this, that is respectful and fun, they really don't have anything to gain from going after you, and they lose a potential free publicity for the character. So there's a good chance that they're not gonna go after you. So yeah, so here it is, a bit of a complex situation. I had to go over everything because it's a very multifaceted problem. So it goes from really, I'm 95% convinced that I'm legal. I'm okay to do this. This is legal one. Even if I had this game with all those characters and I don't have any license from them, I'd still be okay. As long as I don't use their name, and as long as I make sure that they can be mistaken for the real characters. So I think I'm okay. But then there's always the off chance of one company or one studio going after me for one or several characters. And in that case, it is 99% chances that I'm gonna end up losing everything. And so what I'll need to do is get rid of those characters, push out an update in the game. If it's already released, push out an update where the characters are gone, and or change this, sufficiently change so that they're not even recognizable anymore. Or if the game is not out yet, then just don't put those characters in. So that's really the thing. But have you seen this? Let me show you something. And this kind of gave me hope. I was really debating either if I want to go into that sort of potential or problem. But let me show you something here. Have you seen this Broforce game? No. You won't have sound, but that's fine still. So look at this. Commando, the A-Team, all those characters are in a switched game. It's on Steam as well. It's been sold for quite a while now, and to my knowledge, no one went after them. And there is something like 50 or 60 different characters from very, very well-known licenses. Not only movies, but comic books and everything. Yeah, you love Raw. Yeah, I got it too. It's so much fun. But you see, they got it right because they changed the name and they make them look very caricatural, and the game is very outrageous and fun. And so this is not coming from an official thing, right? And so they didn't have to pay for license. And I actually checked, and they didn't pay for any of those licenses. They just made the game, and that was it. But it takes the guts of doing it, and you have to make a leap of faith and hope that no one's gonna be pissed at you, And then, of course, if you go to court, then you can use an example like this, A good attorney the defense you will go after that and will say, look, this character has already been used with no license in that game. How come my client can do the same, But it's always at the appreciation of a judge, and the judge might say, well, I think they look different, they look more cartoony in this, and so in my opinion this is okay, but what he's doing is not. So there's always the risk. You cannot doing this, you have to go with the possibility of getting in trouble at some point. And I mean, you see the Predator. The worst that can happen though is that they will tell you, get rid of my character, and you'll do it, So after that, they're not gonna bring you to court before sending at least a letter asking you to remove the character. So it's not like you risk major issues if you're ready at least to remove some of the characters. But it's kind of a pain if you've balanced the game, have done all that, and you have to get rid of a bunch of characters. Then you have to turn them into something else. So it's a bit of useless work and stress. But it's such an idea that I like, that I figured I probably need to go for it, and we'll see what happens, and hope for the best. Yeah, and exactly, it's a love letter, and to me this is what the game is. It's a love letter to all those characters. Like, I have no intention of making them look bad or or anything. I just want people to have fun with that, feel the same thing that I feel when I think of all those characters. They already have a good image, they already like them. And even the bad ones, the evil ones, we always we all like Mike Myers and the Terminator and all that stuff. So it's just to me, it's just a way to. It's not really to sort of take advantage of. Certainly not to take advantage of properties and being an opportunist, and just making a game that hoping that mediocre game will make money just because I'm using famous characters. It's really not. It is a genuine idea that I have, and it works in the context of this. It works with all those really weird, outrageous teams. I mean, it's like Ready Player One, right? You've seen Ready Player One. Is Ready Player One, has it been written in the idea of just surfing on all the characters or the licenses from the 80s? No, it's been done because the guy wanted to do a love letter to the 80s and have put in there all the stuff, the fun that he had when he was a kid. Did he pay for all those licenses? I doubt it, So I think that's kind of the idea, and it's similar to me in the sense that all those characters are sort of like virtual representations. They're all together in the same world. So this is not Iron Giant. Is not a real Iron Giant. So I haven't read the book. I just saw the movie, and but I haven't. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the movie to be honest with you. But at least I understand the idea behind it, and it's kind of yet another example of things that make a major use of intellectual properties that the guy didn't have, and yet to my knowledge I don't think he paid for. I mean, there's no way that he would have been able to license all, just the sheer amount of work that it would take to get the license for all those characters that he mentioned. Just if you have been through a licensing thing once in a while in my day job, I can tell you that even if it goes through really smoothly and you're ready to pay, and it takes weeks, if not months, just to get the contract signed and everyone involved in an agreement. That's for one character, and that's usually a team of people contacting the company and taking care of all that. So one guy by himself writing a book, getting just the sheer amount of work would be years and years of doing only that. So there's no way he got the license for those characters. So I hope it'll be the same for me, No, Great and Secret Show. What is that? Clive Barker is such a crazy guy. Can you tell me about it? I always like to read stuff, so I'll definitely look into it. So anyway, that was a bit of a longer thing, but do you want to go over the characters and try to see how many you can recognize? You can do that if you want. You don't have to, but if you want to do it, because I always give the opportunity to do that to new people who chat there, who are a little bit more engaged, because it's fun to do, and some people want to do it, and to test their knowledge. And to me, it's always a good thing, because I know if I've nailed the characters or not. The book, there are two forces, one evil and one good. The bad one takes all the humans' worst hate, fear, weakness, and weaves a giant wave of disgusting insect thing out of it and wears it, and it follows him and swells and grows with his power. The good guy has too many favorite characters, their memories. So there might be these characters from cartoon. Oh, really? That is so cool. Yeah, that's a fun idea. Yeah, and I think that's really what makes it a bit unique, because when you look at Brawl Force, I have a lot of fun and respect for that game. They have a theme that's coherent and works really well, but all those characters, they kind of fit together, they're all like action heroes and stuff like that. But to me, what was fun is to have characters that are so disparate, so different, that the team, just looking at some of the team, once you've made them and have them work together, would be so much fun, just for how ridiculous that would look, And even if there's a bit of dialogue stuff, like even a few lines of dialogues, and would be fun, especially if we play the good versus the bad, and good character. This is something that I mentioned too that I would like to do, is having some 3 alignments: neutral, good, and evil. And so let's say you have a team that is composed of 3 good characters, and an evil guy comes in. You can still recruit it, but there's a chance that the evil guy will, because he's outnumbered and he doesn't like the other guys, there's a chance he'll leave the team randomly, just in the middle of the night, and then with whatever he has on himself at this point, all this possession. So you always have to be aware of that. And if they're more balanced, let's say, or the opposite, let's say there's a bunch of bad guys, and then there you recruit a good, there's a chance that bad will actually turn against the good one and eventually try to kill him without your consent. They still have their own, they're part of your team, but they still have their own quirks and problems and obsessions. And this guy, let's say the Terminator, will attack Sarah Connor no matter what. Like the second you meet Sarah Connor in the game, if you have the Terminator in your team, it'll go after her. No questions asked, nothing. It'll go after her right away. So then there's no way you're gonna be able to get her and him at the same time. And then you'll have the decision of, do I join? Do I make my other characters fight her, or do I leave them fighting each other and then recruit the winner? What happens? But then if you have only good characters and Terminator goes after Sarah Connor, if you don't do anything about it, the good characters won't like that, because it's a bad deed for them. And the more bad deed you do on considered bad, the good characters have a chance to leave the team as well. So that would be an interesting dynamic, I think. Okay, so let's go. Yeah, so this, this guy, Clint Eastwood, yeah, in the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That's Valeria from Conan. Yep. How about this guy? If someone wants to play in the chat as well, you're let Jobin try, and if he can't find one, then if someone wants to jump in and give the answer, then feel free to do it, obviously. What about him? Oh, you know this guy. So Xenomorph, right? You know who that is. So Snake. This is harder. This is much harder, depending on what age you are. It's an old film, and it's kind of a, yeah, well done, Foxy Brown. Very good, very good. Yeah, I'm surprised. Not too many people get this one, I think. Oh, you're 41. Then there you go. Then that makes sense. That makes a lot more sense. Very good. Yeah. I get a lot of young people here, and they never, they don't know that, of course. Yeah, yeah, Flash. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. This one, this character. A nurse. I can give you the name of the director if that helps. Milos Forman. It's a 70s movie. And I can give you, if that's not enough, I can give you another actor who's in it. Very, very, very well-known actor. If I tell you the name of the actress, he won't tell you anything, because no one knows her name. She's not a famous actress. But I can give you the counterpart. Yeah, very well. Yeah, very good. Louise Fletcher, the actress, and that's Mildred Ratched in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. All right. Well, he's done a bunch of very strong biopics, like he did Amadeus, the Mozart history. He did what else? A bunch of really good biopics. He did the Man on the Moon, the movie about Kaufman, the comic artist. Dorothy, Predator, yeah. That's another Rob Reiner movie. This is Rob Reiner. This is another Rob Reiner movie. Yeah, biggest fan. Exactly. Well, we're doing her, so we know Princess Buttercup. That's her. You know this one too. Oh, the new one is Princess Buttercup from the Princess Bride, and it's not surprising that you don't recognize her, because honestly, she's not a really important character in the film. She's kind of like, she really has the role of this old storybook story. She's kind of like the princess, but she doesn't really have. It's not like people remember her as an iconic character. And on top of that, the outfits that she wears are quite ugly. I have the reference here. I mean, look at this thing. Like, he gets the nice, cool black fencing outfit, and she gets that. So yeah, it's kind of not surprising that people don't remember that. Okay, let's keep going. Yeah, I love Princess, but I don't get me wrong, I love this movie. I think it's one of the most clever movies I've seen in a long time. So fun, and so lighthearted, and smart. Jessica Rabbit. Yeah, Dave Bowman in 2001, The Space Odyssey. Dave Bowman, yeah. The other one is called Frank Poole, and he's got the yellow outfit, the yellow suit. Indeed, he needs that. Indeed, he does. Yeah, Tony Montana in Scarface. I'm just saying for people who may not understand the joke there. Ripley, Leatherface. Yeah, Toby Hooper. Crazy. So Toby Hooper, very strange. When he made this movie, he basically invented the slasher movie. Very crazy that he did that. Yeah, the original Planet of the Apes, my favorite still so far. The Franklin Schaffner one, released in 1968 now. Very old movie. And Hirsch is Dr. Zira, and he's called Cornelius. It was Roddy McDowall in the suit there. No, well, I can't hurt. I mean, Oh, Texas Chainsaw. Wow, that's not the kind of movie you want to see on drugs. I think that would scare the hell out of you. Oof. No, I think you need to watch comedies under drugs, not hardcore movies like this. Jesus, it scared me as it is. I can't imagine being on drugs on top of it. Luke, yeah, Beetlejuice, indeed. It's kind of a weird shape, weird character, but yeah, I absolutely adore this movie. One of my favorite too. 1984, David Lynch, The Elephant Man. You're doing good so far, 100%. Yeah, it's David Lynch, The Elephant Man. Yeah. Is that so? He's not a gladiator, but he has a very famous scene in a Colosseum, a scene that has been in history. Now, think older, way older. Very famous scene. It's the last scene, lasts about 15. Yeah, Charlton Heston, Ben-Hur, exactly. Yeah. I'm not even ask you this. I'm not gonna even ask you. I mean, pretty sure. Yep. Oh, we got a raid. That's crazy. Holy crap. Adam is raiding with a party of 25. Is that so? Oh, crazy. Thank you for the raid. Welcome, everyone. I guess I have to go over everything now. Again. No, I won't do that. But okay, let me do a quick introduction for all new people here because I felt like that's gonna be weird. So basically, what I'm doing here is a little representation of famous movie characters in pixel art form for a kind of a weird game. Thank you, Mr. Muffle. Um, oh, you're doing pixel art, Adam, as well. I need to check you out after then. So yeah, I have this idea of having this silly game where it's sort of a survival, imagining a darkest dungeon meets some kind of a survival game where turn-based, where all the team that you can recruit is comprised of characters from famous movies and they would make for the most impossible teams, but for some reason synergies would still work between characters that have nothing to do with each other, and also that would imply that there would be a lot of a lot of problems. Thank you for the cheer, Cryptoday. Thank you for the cheer. Thank you very much. So yeah, that would mean there would be a lot of problems within a team. You know, a lot of drama between the good ones, the bad ones, the ones that don't care, and all that stuff. So that's kind of the idea. So my plan is to hopefully sort of document and stream the entire process from art to design, everything, and eventually release the game. Maybe, you know, or maybe not if I run out of juice before, but we'll see. And so I start with the sort of the easy, or I get warmed up into art, try to get as many characters as I can, and then also this would be tiles that I would use for the map environment tiles. You go to a hospital, you get this little, in the map you get this little tile that appears, and then, you know, from the hospital, let's say you move south, and you get to a forest, and then you get this little tile, and then you move another forest, and then a shack in the forest. So that would be sort of. I also make vehicles, famous vehicles, that the characters could get into. So so I've started about 4 months ago now doing those streams, but I started those characters a bit earlier than that. So and tonight I was making Princess Buttercup from the Princess Bride, the Rob Reiner movie. So anyway, so we were playing this game with Jobin right before you guys came in, and so the idea is to try and see if I can recognize all the characters. It's got the 10 out of 10 for sure right now, 100%. So let's keep going. So the only thing, love the Ryan Back to the Future. Oh man, Back to the Future, I think it's my top 5. It's just such a genius movie. Everything is perfect in this, whether it is the comedy, the effects, the characters. It's just a perfect. I feel like it's so hard to get those movies where the tone is always perfect between comedy, drama. Indiana Jones, I feel Raiders of the Lost Ark also, sorry, I knocked the mic, has also a perfect tone, and Back to the Future is an absolute genius for sure. Yeah, everything about this film is just, it's impossibly good. So okay, Jabin, are you ready to keep going? So all I ask is you guys don't type in the, even if you know, don't refrain from typing the name in the chat, the character. Let Jabin try and find it, and if he can't make it, if he can't find one, then feel free to type in the chat if you know the answer. All right, I'll try to do that. So yeah, Beverly Hills Cop. Okay, yeah. No, this is not from Platoon. Close enough. Yeah, you can recite all the Vietnam movies. Yeah, Apocalypse Now, exactly. Yeah, Groundhog Day is the one with Bill Murray. Yeah, it's hilarious. So this guy is called Colonel Bill Kilgore, and he's got one of those two famous lines. One is "I love the smell of napalm in the morning," and the other line that he has is super famous, stayed in history, is "Charlie, don't surf," as a reference to the fact that Charlie was a nickname for the Viet Cong during the Vietnam War, and so they basically restrict the access of the beach to the Americans, so the Vietnamese don't have access to the beaches anymore. And this guy, because he's a bit of a dick, he says Charlie, don't surf. So that was kind of like and actually the director of Conan, John Milius, was the one who came up with those lines. Yeah, if you have to rewatch Apocalypse Now, I recommend that you watch the Redux version, because there's an interesting, very interesting scene with French colonials at some point. Very long sort of dinner scene, very interesting to show you a little bit more of the context of the war at that point and the different parties involved. So what about this guy, Rambo? Yeah, you're already ahead of me. Forrest Gump. This is one of my favorite animation features, really. I think it's beautiful. Very, very Iron Giant. Yes, I recommend watching this for you guys who haven't seen it. This is I'm playing. Yeah, you got it first. It's okay. Yeah, Rocketeer. Based on Dave Stevens comic book. Here's Johnny, exactly. So for the ones who don't know the reference, it's The Shining, and this is Jack Torrance in the Stanley Kubrick movie, played by Jack Nicholson. This, you know, you just mentioned Clive Barker a little earlier, so I'm pretty sure you know that. Pinhead, Red Sonja, exactly. Red Sonja, not as she is in the very bad movie that they did in the late 80s, I think, or early 90s. It was absolutely terrible. Oh, this is very hard. So this is not only because I think the movie is I think you probably know the movie. I'm pretty sure you know the movie based on your age and the fact that you seem to know a lot about movies. But the problem is it's such a mundane character. There's really not. The only thing that's a bit peculiar about him is the hat. He's got this little silly hat on top of the head. No, it's not Sean Connery. Yeah, you can guess. Yeah, Michael, go for it. If you, it's more like a 5 o'clock shadow. No, Unbreakable. No. I can give you. So, if you want, I can give you the director. It's a William Friedkin movie. So William Friedkin, for those who don't know, he directed The Exorcist, and also Cruising. Yeah, it's not Bruce Willis. I can give you the actor. The actor is Gene Hackman, the guy who was doing in the old Richard Donner Superman. He was doing Lex Luthor. So Gene Hackman in a 1970 something movie. I don't remember exactly the date. Probably around 75, 76. Chinatown, no, and that's a William Friedkin movie. And there's been 2 parts. Yes! Mr. Muffles got it. Well done. Very well done. Popeye in The French Connection. Let me show you guys the guy. Wow. Well done, Mr. Muffle. Good job. I'm impressed. So that's the guy. And so you see, he's got nothing really except that little hat. It's a funny hat. That's really what it. And so this movie is really recommended. It's really awesome movie. It's based on a true story actually, This guy, so what they call the French Connection back then was the fact there was a big amount of drugs that would transit from Marseille in France to the New York harbor and would get in the United States this way. Mainly drugs that came from North Africa, transited through Marseille. There was a lot of mafia over there at the time, and then found their way to the United States through New York. And this guy, he was a narc, and he decided to go after one of the biggest French mob guys at the time that was organizing all this traffic, all this contraband, and that's the story of that. It's a William Friedkin movie. And then they did French Connection too, where he moves to France to pursue the same guy, but then on his own turf in Marseille. Yeah, Gene Hackman is a monument. This is a bit silly, but unless you know the pose, I don't even know. See, yeah, I'm French. Yeah. You can tell probably with my heavy accent. I'm sorry, by the way, for the accent, guys. I know this is a little hard to listen to sometimes, but I do my best. I do my very best, but it's not my native language. So this is Flashdance. Yes. I know the next three. So yeah, so Sarah Connor, Terminator 2. That's obviously RoboCop and Indiana Jones. The girl, which girl? Yeah, that girl is Alex in Flashdance, the old dancing movie, with the music from Giorgio Moroder. Very cheesy but fun music. And this is Sarah Connor as she appears in Terminator 2. You know, when in the desert scene, they go for the weapons cache in Mexico or at the border or something. And she goes into this berserker rampage and decides to kill the guy from Cyberdyne, the engineer. So that's how she is there. You've mentioned this guy earlier, Jabin. Reanimator. So that's Dr. Herbert West. That was his name in the movie. Crazy, outrageous movie by Stuart Gordon. And by the way, if you haven't seen Stuart Gordon movies, you have to watch them. If you like gore, that is, and if you like really silly, outrageous movies, then I really recommend you watch at least Reanimator and From Beyond and Dagon. And then if you like this sort of stuff, then you have to watch Society, which is even worse and even more crazy. But that was done not by him, but his most famous collaborator, which called Brian Usna. Society, Brian Usna. Be prepared though; it's a very funky one. Oh yeah, you know Society, right? You know what I'm talking about. Just I was like this thing. I mean, for you guys who haven't seen it, this thing is crazy. It starts off as some sort of there's a lot of things that remind me of a little bit of one of those kind of high school movies. Nothing too special about it. And then it slowly peels off the onion. All the layers one at a time, and then at some point the movie kicks into gear, and it from that point on it's downhill from there. It's absolutely crazy, very weird. Yes, very weird, but also has a lot of meaning to it in an interesting way. Yeah, very good effects, very yeah, for the time it was pretty impressive too. Yeah, street trash level weird, exactly. Yeah, all this stuff like Bad Taste, or it's like Those movies that either you're gonna love them or absolutely hate them. So you know this guy, most likely. Freddy, yeah. Mike Myers, yeah. So that's MacReady from The Thing. The Thing, by the way, 1982, and John Carpenter is still my favorite John Carpenter movie. I generally love most of John Carpenter movies because they are so genuine. Mr. Muffle, thank you for the follow. Thank you, and well done with your French connection. I remember that you're probably the only person who found it. Thank you for the follow again. Yeah, so The Thing, my favorite John Carpenter movie. So those are just fun aliens that I did, kind of weird aliens, because I kind of want to see if I could find a very iconic sort of species that would be the one that you oppose in the game, you know, and they would sort of try a bit like They Live, you know, they would try and get into, you know, pass for real people, but then if you have a special glasses or so, you can see that they're all tentacle monsters. Yeah, I heard that. You know, it's funny. The game, I've never seen it. I think it was Xbox game, and someone mentioned it at work actually, and told me it was absolutely great because you never knew who was the thing, and there was a lot of paranoia involved. Yeah, okay, I have to check it out then because you're not the first person to tell me this. This very very sort of 80s movie, very 80s. Studio lighting and all of that stuff. Super underappreciated. Yeah, Tim Curry, legend. Yep, it's The Darkness. Yeah, I'll try to check it out if I can find it somewhere. I don't have an Xbox anymore though, so I don't know how I would be able to play it. Yeah, so Conan, everyone got this one. So that's it. I think we've done everyone. I can go back to before. I think the raid came when we were about. Where were we when the raid happened? Around here, I think, somewhere. Maybe we can do the first row for post-raid. Anyone can jump in at this point, I guess, you know. The faster first person who got it, then good. How about this guy? Obviously, Jobin, don't say anything, you know all of them. So you got everything, Jobin, except for French connection. Okay, so it's like a 99%. Very good. Yeah, of course, of course. Have a good night, man. I appreciate. I really like the interaction. It's always fun to get to interact with people and see what they think about the idea and how well they can recognize the characters. Thank you for the follow. Thank you for being here, and yeah, I'm very glad to meet you. And I hope you'll come back. I stream just so you know, I stream on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Pacific time, so West Coast at 9. And there's a little countdown below the stream that you can that is adapted to your region. So the countdown is always accurate no matter where you look it from. You'll know exactly how many hours or days there is to the next stream. So I'll let you go, but hopefully you'll come back. Does anyone want to? How about Carmichael, or who else was playing? Mr. Muffles? Who else was playing a little earlier? We had, yeah, essentially Carmichael, Mr. Muffles. Are you still here? Do you want to try to go for the first few ones? Yeah, oh, the game is not it's not anywhere anytime soon. It's gonna be years for sure. So but the process, hopefully I hope the process will be fun to watch and to do no matter what happens with the game, because I don't want to think about how successful or not. Doesn't matter. It's the journey, really. Yeah, if you want next time, we can do a, because I always ask people if people want me to do a, they have a character, because I have a list of characters, but I'm sure you guys have characters that you think of that you like. If there are famous characters from movies, especially 80s and earlier, and especially female characters, because I have a hard time finding enough female characters. If you have ideas, but everything goes, you don't have to stick to those rules. Let me know. Send me a direct message or whatever on one of those platforms, and I can make this, you know. So it's always good to have people. And if you want me to do an environment instead of one of those little tiles or a vehicle, I'll be happy to do so. So if you want to, depending if you're here next time, job in, we can make a little tile if you want. So should I play with one of the couple of peoples here, or should I keep doing what I was doing? I was close to get to the end of her, actually. Princess Buttercup, not the most difficult character to do for sure, not the most interesting either, but I feel like as a character she's kind of cool. So what should I do? Yeah, well, here's the good thing about before you go about this, because it's isometric, there is really no need to know perspective, because by definition, isometric doesn't have any perspective. I mean, it has perspective, but not like a complex perspective, because it's all a flat projection, meaning that all the angles are always the same. In perspective, the problem is that you have a vanishing point, and so you have to make sure that all your lines basically, let's say this is your horizon, and this is your vanishing point, and this is your perspective, right? So you have to make sure that when you make a building, you have to make sure that all the lines follow proper perspective and all that, and that's what's complicated about it. But isometric is a flat projection, and this is what it means. Essentially a grid like this, like that, right? And all the angles are always the same. So there is no way you can really make a mistake. All you have to do is draw parallel lines like this, and you'll be fine, you know. The lines, the perspective lines, will never meet anywhere. So I'll show you if you come back as next time or whenever, when I do this, I'll explain the thing. It's very easy, really. So okay, what I'm gonna do is this. If you feel, yeah, if someone wants to play the game and try to recognize and guess the characters, type 1. And if you guys want me to keep going with her, type 2. I'll wait for a few minutes, maybe a minute or two, and if I don't get an answer, I'll just keep going with her. But I'm glad to have so many people, thanks to Adam with his raid. That's cool. I'll have to check him after, see what he's doing. I'm always happy to find new people who are doing the same thing. It's such a specific thing that to me many people are doing it. Okay, I guess I'll just keep going. So Princess Buttercup, back to it. Won't be done soon, actually. It's not really I mean, at that point I have the foundation, which is really always the one thing that is the hardest and the thing that you want to get first. Now we'll do a little bit of shading for for all those folds. And then we'll see from there where we want to go. Usually for that sort of stuff, I try to make them a little more tight and then sort of taper them out, because you know, fabric tends to be, you know, a little more tight there because of the belt. So it makes sense that they get a little, the folds are more constrained towards the top. And then we'll do we'll see what we do with that. I think I'll have a bit of lighting coming left side. Not really a strong, not a key light, but more of a sort of a ambient light that would just lighten a little bit more at this side, because otherwise this will look like a big mess. So I can just paint in multiply, and this will allow me to keep those lines that I've set up for the folds while still darkening everything. It's very easy way to, and we're gonna go even more. I think we can afford to go a bit more contrasted. So otherwise, I think character will look very very bland if it lacks that much contrast. We'll see. That seems a bit better. I always tend to paint with it's kind of a weird habit that I have with a low contrast, and that's most likely because I'm not too sure about the real values. You know, I'm too shy because and then after a while, when I get more confident with my values, then I tend to increase the contrast. But that's something you can do at the very end, and that's fine as long as you have enough of enough range. You can increase the contrast without ruining anything. This needs more saturation, this value, so I think I'm gonna just do this real quick. Eventually we'll do that. Let me take this and do the same everywhere. Maybe I'll go darker even there, but not too sure at the moment. Trying to get sort of a bit more unified palette is always better in Pixel, because otherwise things tend to look a bit more messy. So keeping a bit of a control over the palette is never really a bad idea. It's not always very easy to do, but then you can always use a software like Sprite. It's very good at remapping palettes. So worst case, you can always let not worry about that too much, and then very last step, you can bring this into Sprite and just remap the palette. See if we could go a bit darker there. I think it's worth increasing contrast in that area. Let's see if we can get something interesting. Sometimes folds can merge into one, so that's something we can try and convey there. I need a bit of anti-aliasing for fabric. Usually if you look at all the characters I made so far, I refrain to use anti-aliasing. Most of the time they're very sharp and very jagged. Either you like it or you're not. Some people like to do sprites with a lot of anti-aliasing, especially in the edge, to make things nicer and cleaner, which is certainly a valid way of doing it. But me personally, I prefer not to go too much with the anti-aliasing because at this size I feel like sprites tend to become very blurry, and they lose their sort of funny sort of blocky quality that they get from the pixel art. So in order for me to embrace the pixel art, I feel like it's okay to accept the fact that things look very jagged and blocky. It's kind of part of it, so I'm not trying to fight it too much. But I will use anti-aliasing, however, for certain things like fabric, just a little bit of it, because you want to convey the fact that an outline is a hard shape, because it's against something. It's really it's more of a form, it's an actual a negative shape versus a positive shape. So it's fine to have very hard edges in some cases. Also some materials like a hard contrast, it's fine. But fabric tends to be a little softer, on in shadows, and the shadows are less harsh. So when I do the shading for fabric like this, I tend to use a bit of anti-aliasing, a little more. Like see here, just a few pixels, just to make it less hard to look at. I really don't do it so that it looks like it's cleaner and anti-alias, as it is to just make sure that it reads a bit more as a soft fabric, I should keep my window here. It's always good to have a little smaller view, get a sense for it. So we'll try to finish this quickly. I want to also make sure the overall lighting still reads. With this sort of stuff, you tend to fight a lot the aliasing, especially if those lines are really bad. It's a bit unfortunate. This stuff I try to go relatively fast early, just because I kind of want to feel a little bit of the gesture more than getting bogged down into trying to get the perfect lines and everything. It's more about the flow, I guess. We'll do... I try to retain a bit of a softer edge there. Okay. This is a wrong saturation as well. Let's push it a bit. Yep. Do that. It's a bit too light though. Like this. See this? See if we can go a bit darker on the edge there. No, let's try to do the opposite actually. Darker here. We'll go lighter. Hard to find a... Don't want too many values either. It's a very good idea. I'm gonna separate the hands a little bit by giving a bit of a shadow. Shouldn't hurt. The belt needs to be a little longer though. Maybe you'll do something like this. That seems right. So hands. Don't really like to make big expenses of a same color like this. Always a bit boring. But I guess you know, it's also part of it. Can't really change the design too much. It's always good to have a little bit of a impression of overlapping folds that break out the outline. Sort of reinforces the idea that this fold is above this other one. Getting now I'm trying to, you see me going back and forth and erasing a lot of what I've done. You'll see me always doing this sort of stuff. The reason is because I'm very indecisive. Now, but joke aside, the reason is really because I feel like usually when you paint, you tend to, at least me, I tend to over complexify because I want stuff, you know. I want things to look interesting, and the simple way of doing this is to add more pixels, add more stuff, you know, just to make sure that it's not all one color. But then the truth is that it's always, it's most of the time just a cheap way of filling the space, and I make things more complex than they should because I don't have the right values or the right shading, right shapes and everything. And so then I tend to make things a little too complicated, and that's why once I start to understand a little bit more what's going on, and I try to read some of the best things in there, find them, and then simplify everything as much as I can, and keep just the most basic things. You kind of try to reduce most of what you do to their simplest sort of essence, you know. Like it's always something that's a bit hard to do, but it's good to try and force yourself to find the simpler design. Because detail for the sake of detail is just usually ends up with a visual complexity that is that doesn't really serve your purpose. Here it's always a problem because you have you want the folds to be as tight as possible, but then everything tends to be too straight. So it's always kind of you have to choose almost the like no solution's gonna be perfect, but don't know that I need that many values in there. Sorry, I tend to be a bit more silent now because trying to focus a little bit more. So I try to get everything a little bit cleaner, as clean as I can, you know. Try to remove the fluff and focus on what works. This angle's really always bad there. It's either too curved, you know, too much curve, or too straight. Always a bit of an issue. Can't get it perfectly right. It's kind of tricky there. And if you guys, if someone also question or suggestion, sometimes, you know, you can have things that you think you would do differently, or you wonder why I'm making certain choices, then you should really never hesitate to speak up. You know, I don't pretend that I'm gonna have a perfect answer for everything. I'm also, you know, trying the best I can, but without having a total, you know, not a total expert there. I'm just like anyone, you know, trying to do what I can. But if I can answer some questions, I'll be glad to do it. Yeah, I'm struggling with this particular line there. I hate to have it straight, but at the same time I feel like this is the cleanest option, so let me try and think. Oh, you know what? Here's what we could do. I think we're gonna try something different here. Just gonna pretend that one of the folds just really merges into one, and go very simple. See what that does. Maybe I think we'll do this. I'll let you kind of let the viewer kind of fill in the blanks there. Sometimes it's better not to actually show things. It's better to just suggest them. You don't have to show everything, you know, or draw everything. Okay, so I thought this is getting a bit better. I'm a little annoyed with this big straight line there. I wonder if there's a way to make this a little less. I guess I could go like this. Just trying to take the edge off of this line there. Okay, just so quickly edge this. I think I question if there's too much lighting from left to right. I think I'm gonna go lighter overall. Don't think we need that much. Sometimes too, just having a few well isolated pixel like this. They suggest a little bit more of a imperfections, you know, which might be good. And we're going to try to get a bit of that that lighting too in the sleeve, just so that it would make a bit more sense. So that this side is a little darker, you know. Don't know if I can go that dark, but we'll see. Probably not, because this has to be the darkest, since it's facing down. This is useful to also give a bit of information about the kind of puffy sleeve that this is, giving a little bit of form. Get Lost Greg. Thank you for the follow, Get Lost Greg. Should I call you? I feel like I should call you Greg rather than Get Lost. But you tell me. Greg is fine. Hello, welcome. I'm doing a pixel art if you just joined. I don't know when you came here, but I'm doing a little character pixel art for fun and in the hope of making a game one day. And I'm gonna try to, if things go extremely well, to maybe show the whole development of this this game, this idea that I have. Been lurking a bit. Okay. Feel free to lurk. People are always, like I said, you know, I lurk too on many streams. Sometimes you don't feel like saying anything. It's perfectly fine. It's fine to lurk. It's fine to be there for 5 minutes. It's fine to be there for more. It's fine to talk. It's really up to you guys. You can do whatever you want here. I'm always happy anyway to have at least someone. It really doesn't. You don't have to feel any pressure into doing anything. So okay, we're getting a bit better now. Yeah. On something like her, it's really just shading. Really, there's not. It's not like there's a lot of design like on a character like this. I'm lucky that there's a lot of overlapping materials and shapes, and something like this character has a skin, different pants, things over the pants, and light versus dark. So there's a lot of stuff that the eye can pick on. So you don't really have to do much shading, and in fact you don't really have the space for it because you have to show all those little details, you know. But in a case like her, she's so simple that it comes down really to shading at that point, because there's nothing else to show. Otherwise she would be just a big red mask without anything, and we can't really have that. So that's kind of like the thing with her. This is getting close now. We're getting really close. I'm gonna try and see if I can do something to suggest this glitter there, a bit like I did here. It's all about contrast in a case like this. You want to go from a pretty dark to very light quickly, usually. That's how you're going to suggest gold or metal. Usually is a very tends to have very hot contrast, you know. But the problem with that is that sometimes it just adds too much complexity, and you end up with not being able to. It kind of messes up scale and stuff like that. So we can do a little bit of that. You can go almost to white, you know. Trying to find Try to get the same thing here. Don't want it to blend with the hands too much. I may have to go even darker there. You have to feel that there's a shadow, but you can't lose entirely the connection, because otherwise it looks like those are floating. You need to be able to understand that they go just under the hands. This is from The Princess Bride. It's a Rob Reiner movie from 1987. She was Robin Wright. It was one of her first roles. You've seen her in recently in House of Cards if you have Netflix. But at the time, I think she was in her early 20s. Probably one of her very first roles in movies, if not the first. And it's a really fun sort of storybook story, very fun, light-hearted movie, very clever. It's a lot of very clever, very smart dialogue, and I really recommend it if you haven't seen it. It's called The Princess Bride. Yeah, that's Robin Wright. Yeah, let me show you some other pictures. And she was called Princess Buttercup in that movie. Yeah, I can barely recognize her. That's her right there. Yeah, very young at the time. She was, she was early 20s, I think. But she's a beautiful woman. She stayed very, very classy, very beautiful. Age hasn't really doesn't have a lot of age doesn't seem to have a grasp on her. It's crazy. Some people like that are very very lucky, and I guess she probably maintains herself in good shape as well. So good for her. She was in Wonder Woman. She was one of the Amazons. I think she was the Haunt or something, like the sister of her mother, the Queen. I think. I'm not sure. So I mean, right. Carrie Ewells here with the love interest. Very fun. There's a lot of very fun scenes in this movie. Fencing, and it's kind of a swashbuckling adventure, mixes with the little fairy tale. It's a fairy tale with swashbuckling, and it's a very very fun and very light-hearted. If you haven't had the opportunity, check it out. Really, it's good. Yeah, I mean, depending on what age you are, if you're older, you may appreciate her more now. If you're younger, you may prefer her young, but I think she seems to be perfect at every age, no matter what. So we're doing this. So here it's the same idea that I did, the little, just having a few sort of a dithering of bright pixel and light, gives you this sort of sparkly feel. I used the same technique here for Jessica Rabbit, for the gown. Same idea. You get this sort of sequin look, and it's quite easy to do really. So that works for her as well, for the belt. It's really, that's the main thing that she has. The only thing here is that it's getting a little fat, So I think I need some kind of a negative space in there to show that it's more of a belt than with two. Yeah, that's probably better, so that we understand that there's really two sort of that the belt sort of separates into two different parts. Probably not a good idea to end up on a very bright pixel. Usually I try to get the bright pixels away from the edge, because then they tend to look very big. Here it's probably better to do the opposite, like this. Yeah, I think that's probably all right. What else? Yeah, so maybe what we need to do is just to do a bit of shading on the hair. Light hair is very hard to shade, like this guy. But one way of doing it is treating it as one big mass of hair, and just try to suggest where the hair meets the head. There's usually a bit of a thickness and a shadow that occurs. You'll see it there, how dark this is, right? Because really the hair is shadowing the head. So since we don't have any pixels to do almost nothing, we can at least suggest this, and maybe try and suggest a little bit of the separation there, and maybe one clean highlight, something like I did there. We'll see if this can help a little bit. So very, very, very simple already. Yeah. Can't get too. We need to make sure the saturation is quite high. We'll probably shift the hue for more of an orange here, and try to find the best. Probably this is enough, and at least gives just the eye a little bit more information about what kind of haircut this is. It's really not much, but enough sometimes too. And then here we can probably try and shade the hair just a bit, because there's volume, and there's a chance that some of the hair would be a bit in shadow in this area, so it's probably alright to do that. Just give it a bit of a volume. I think we could go even darker. Oops, not that much. So you kind of understand that the volume of air goes also behind her head, I think this needs a bit more. I'm gonna try to get more saturation in this. It's tricky at this saturation at some point when you deal with very light values. Saturations tend to really dip, and there's not much you can do about it, unfortunately. It's just nature of color, that's the way it works. So this is not much, but it just gives her just a bit more, just a bit more. Just so that the hair is not just one big flat color, you know. So just a bit of so there's a bit of shine in the hair. It's probably okay. Okay, so at this point we're almost pretty much done with her. I'll get another version. How come I duplicated her? Let me check. Why did I do that? No, it's nothing. Get rid of that. Now I just have to, let's flip her one more time. See if it feels right. I think she's a little bit too blocky though over there. I feel like we probably can afford to. I was questioning that earlier, and I think now I want to, seeing with the shading, I think it's probably better to just taper the gown a little bit. Yeah, I think it's better. She's less of a big block, you know. Let's probably go lower too. Okay, I think I'm gonna just make sure that out a little darker towards the tip, so that they end up in a hair ends up in a smaller tip, you know, because usually the less contrast between pixels, the smaller they look. So if you do this, the tip looks a little bit more like a point, you know. Oops. Probably do that. Okay, so I think this is okay, and now really all we have to do, actually, let me see here, I think we're gonna give her blue eyes. Eyes you can't really give too much color because they tend to look really bizarre, but we're gonna try so to go for blue, and then we'll kill most of the saturation. And find a color that looks blue but is closer to, like this, to the, it's a bit cooler than the skin, but don't want to go. And it's even that is probably too colorful, because it might be mistaken for makeup. That's my worry. So we'll go even more. Yeah, I don't know if it's a good idea actually. I want the eyes to really look natural. I don't want people to think that she's wearing a crazy, you know, eye shade, or it's probably okay. I think lips are a tad too saturated too, and a bit too orange. I'm gonna just adjust this, go for more of a bit more pink, and take some kind of a delicate thing to do. Yeah, I think this is a bit better. Oh, thank you, Greg. Yeah, I try to explain as much as I can, because I know that first of all, it's a bit boring to just look at something without any music or anything. I prefer to put music on, because if I end up having some of that on YouTube, I know there is copyright issues and people get in trouble. So I don't put any music. But sometimes I feel like there was a bit of music. Like I was thinking of when I make a character, I wanted to have the actual soundtrack from the movie playing at the same time. That would have been really cool to get into mood. But then that would prevent me from using any of this on YouTube eventually. So that's why I try to a little bit try to maintain a little bit of some activity, so people can hear. But also, I know that watching some tutorials and from experience, that when people do stuff and they never explain their thought process, it can be quite frustrating, because you feel like you're missing out. And I think sometimes the thought process is actually more important than seeing it done. Seeing it's done is it's cool, but the idea behind it, why people are making certain choices, I think you can learn more from that. That's why I try to. But like I was saying, previous stream is it's always a kind of a difficult balance to find, because if you I feel like if you're saying too much, or if you're talking all the time, it can be a little bit tedious too for people. Some people they like to have a little bit of they don't want to hear someone just constantly speaking. Or sometimes if people are more experienced and they know a lot more about what I'm doing, and they do it themselves, then they just they don't really need all the thought process, and they'd rather have me shut up and just look at it, because they don't need as much explanation. And also sometimes I'll stop and I'll start explaining something, even do a little bit of an example on the side, like I did earlier for the isometric versus at one point perspective. But that slows down the work, and I don't know sometimes if people would rather me go faster than So, but that's something that the more people like you are giving me their opinion as to whether they like this or not, the better for me, because I get a better sense of what's the right approach. Okay, so at this point it's more I start to just scribble too much. It means that I'm getting towards the end. it's important to be able to recognize that moment where you start you know, scribbling and painting for the sake of painting in the hope of all of a sudden getting something so much better. But usually when you get to that point, there's a very dangerous it's a very dangerous point in any art, because this is where you can go backwards and start ruining everything you've done by just sheer second guessing, or you know, because you've been accustomed to what you're doing, and you start looking for improvements that don't really need to be there. So I think usually when I'm to see how sort of unfocused I am at the moment, and that means that I think everything is in there. So I should stop at that point, and then what I'll do is that I'll take one day or a couple of days and let it rest, and then I'll come back tomorrow or the day after, at least a night. I like to sleep on it, and the next day I'll look at it, and usually I'll see right away what are the main mistakes, if there are, and most of the time there are some mistakes or things that could have been done much better. And so in that case, what I'll do is I'll fix those at least, and you know, and then eventually post it. But it's yeah, I think it's pretty important not to rush into things, but also recognize when you're done, you know, because when you're done already. So okay, so we'll consider her pretty much finished, you know, 90% done, except for this. I'm trying to get a clean, better, simple line there. Makes the aliasing a little less offensive, so you try to get nice flow. Okay, so let's just quickly check for size and also mainly for saturation, because I try to get all the separation in a consistent level. So because I could go for her, I could go, since she's got a red gun, you know, I could go super saturated like this, but then this would not fit really with any of the very colorful characters. So even though there is variations in saturation, some characters are very desat due to the nature of their outfit, and some of them are more colorful, but I still want to maintain a very coherent level of saturation and contrast over everything. So I feel like she may probably benefit of a bit of contrast. Naturally, the more you contrast, the more you're going to saturate. So there's one way of doing this. If you don't want to make sure that you don't want to saturate too much, what you can do is this is the layer. Put in a level layer on top, for instance. We're going to create a clipping mask. That means that this layer will only affect the layer that's underneath, which is her. And then here we can play with the contrast, right? Let's say I'll do it extreme just so you see. And this layer, if I put it in luminosity, then the contrast will go up, but the saturation will remain the same. That's a really good trick if you want to make sure that you maintain your level of saturation, but you want to increase the contrast. So any kind of layer that will increase the contrast on top in luminosity mode will make sure that you prevent pushing saturation. So now all we have to do is find a proper contrast. So I thought we can go a little more contrast. And don't worry about the head, because I can that's the beauty of an adjustment layer. I'll show you what I'll do after that. This is mainly for the red gown. So before, after, so you see there's just a bit more contrast, a bit more clear. And then what I can do is paint in this mask. I'll just paint in black, and this will effectively remove the the adjustment layer in that specific area. So then I can make sure that the adjustment layer won't affect any of the skin, for instance. If I feel like I don't want it to affect the belt either, just the red, then yeah, just paint like this. And now you see that I can on off. It only affects and now I can even hold on. Can even go back to it and push even more, or do whatever I want. Like a bit darker is better for her. So that was before and after. It's just to get a bit more read on the falls and get a bit more contrast. Collapse, and then that's it. So I think she's okay now. The scale is seems all right. Contrast and color seems consistent. So that is our Princess Buttercup from the Princess Bride. The added benefit of adding contrast is that sometimes you'll see some mistakes in shading even better, because there's more difference between the different colors, and so you can get a better sense of what you should where you should fix things if needed. This can go even simpler. A few things like this. Okay, so I tend to turn characters towards the left oftentimes, so we'll do that for once. Even though that would put the belt on the wrong size, I guess, on side, but that's fine. It doesn't really matter one way or the other. And then okay, we'll name her now, Princess Buttercup. It's a great name for a fairy tale. Very cool name. And we'll give her a little bit of a shadow like we always do. That's just because this will ground the character a bit. Give a bit of perspective to the ground. There. And I think that is it. Let's review one more time. We'll kill this. We don't need her anymore. Hope I didn't forget anything. Maybe she's a bit dark, but I don't know. It's kind of tricky. Yeah, let me just do a quick adjustment. I think we can push the bright tones a little bit and saturation. Let me get rid of all of this. I don't want it to affect the skin or hair. I didn't use an adjustment layer here because I wanted to go fast, and I knew it was going to be that one little thing. The adjustment layer is good when you don't, you know, you're going to have to do a lot of testing back and forth. You don't exactly know what you want to get out of it, and also if in case you would need the same character, the different color later on, then keeping the adjustment layer will make sure that you can change the color. Yeah. Okay, so there you have it there, Princess Buttercup. That's one more. We're closing into 4 hours of stream, by the way, so it's been it's a pretty long stream. I mean, I usually stream between 2.5 hours to 4 hours, and almost I've done a few around 4:30, 4:40, but that's very rare. So 4 hours is a good stream. It's a good time. So thank you again. I want to thank everyone who came here, stayed after the raid, and gave me their support. Thanks to the follows. Let me see if I can remember them one last time. Greg followed, and Mr. Muffle, and Crypto, and Adam, and Jobin. Thank you for the follows, and Adam, thank you very much for the raid. That was awesome. Really appreciate that, and I'll make sure to check your stream as well, since you're also doing pixel art. And Jobin, I will have a look at your Instagram page, and probably most probably follow you. So thank you everyone. I'll see you back on 2 days from now on Wednesday, and we'll do something else. We'll see. Maybe we'll do a little tile for a change, or maybe another character. I'm not quite sure. You can have your say on it. If you're here early in the stream, you can ask me to do something, and we could maybe do that. And I remember it's Wednesday. Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 p.m. Pacific time, the West Coast time. Okay, I think it's going to be it for me. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. And good night or good day, depending on where you are in the world. And I'll see you on Wednesday. Thank you. Bye.